So what does the G7 stand for? The G7 sees itself as an association of nations bound by shared values, whose members are committed to freedom and human rights, democracy and the rule of law, prosperity and sustainable development. Given the economic and political weight of G7 members, the group's decisions influence numerous other countries and international organizations. Although the decisions made by the G7 are not legally binding, they do have a tangible political impact. What is the historical background of G7? The group was established as a platform for economic and financial cooperation in response to the 1973 energy crisis. The first summit of heads of state and government was held in 1975 in France. It included France, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Germany, Japan and Italy. In 1976, with the admission of Canada, the G7 took its current configuration. Since 1977, representatives of the European Economic Community, now the European Union, also participated in the work of the group. The EU does not hold the rotating presidency of the G7. The G7 expanded into G8 between 1997 and 2013 with the inclusion of Russia. However, Russia's participation was suspended in 2014 following the annexation of Crimea. So how does the G7 work? Well, compared to international organization, the G7 does not have a permanent administrative structure. Each year, starting from the 1st of January, one of the member states takes over the presidency of the group in a rotating basis. The nation holding the presidency serves as a temporary secretariat and hosts the group work and the Leaders' Summit. Most importantly, the presidency plays a key role in setting the agenda and identifying key priorities. On January 1st, 2024, Italy assumed the presidency for the 7th time in its history, succeeding Japan, and will hand it over to Canada on December 31st, 2024. The summit is attended by the heads of state and government of the 7 member states, representatives of the European Union, as well as states and international organizations invited by the presidency. So what has the G7 achieved till date? Well, the G7 summit paves the way for numerous multilateral initiatives and agreements. In the first few years after the G7 had been established in 1975, the focus was mainly on global economy. But in the 1980s, this was expanded to include foreign policy and security policy. Nowadays, a wide range of different economic, climate, environmental, and socio-political issues are discussed. In recent years, the G7 has achieved many advances, such as stabilizing the financial markets, reforming international corporate taxation, especially for large digital corporations, containing AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria, and strengthening women's rights and combating climate change. Dialogue with emerging economies and developing nations. The G7's engagement with the inclusion of emerging economies and developing nations has evolved alongside the progressive expansion of the group's agenda. A notable example was the 2001 summit, where Italy pioneered the African segment. This segment featured dedicated dialogue sessions between G7 leaders and representatives of invited African nations. This process has continued over the following decades, where the G7 focus has continued to expand, shifting to address a wide array of global issues, including the climate-energy nexus and food security. So why was India again invited to